couldn't make it, so I will give them the recording later. So I invite you all to get a cup of tea or water or whatever you'd like. I know I have my tea here. As we prepare for our about an hour or so together. All right, I think we'll get started. So I am going to just mute folks while I get started. If anybody'd like to just jump in and say hello before I do that. Appreciate it. Okay. And I'll be keeping an eye on the chat too. All right. Cool. Well, thank you all for being here. I do appreciate your time. And I invite you to take this time as an opportunity for you to just be with yourself and approach what we're going to do today with a bit of curiosity and compassion and openness to whatever may come up for you. And let me just briefly introduce myself. I think there are some folks here I may not know or may have seen me somewhere, but I'm Lori Ingram, and I'm finishing up my certification as a Cosmic Smashbooking guide. And I am also an ordained interfaith, interspiritual minister, and a spiritual counselor as well. And I discovered Cosmic Smashbooking a couple of years ago because I've always had creative hobbies, always dabbled in things and did art journaling. But Cosmic Smashbooking really brought everything together for me. Spirituality and healing and self-exploration into kind of this perfect, the third leg of the stool, so I say. So I'm honored to be able to lead other folks now in your own journeys, and my journey continues as well. So I'd like to just start with a little bit of just grounding ourselves into this moment. And then I'll talk a bit about what we're going to do. So I invite you as well. I am recording this, but if you'd like to leave your camera on, off, is totally up to you. This is your time. So I do invite you wherever you are to just leave behind what you were just doing. And don't anticipate what might be coming next. I know we have folks here across many time zones, and we'll have folks watching later as well. So if you're comfortable, close your eyes or lower your gaze for a moment and invite you to just connect with your breath. And take this opportunity to bring your awareness down into your heart space. That essence of us which connects with the divine, limitless possibility, infinite creativity. As we take a moment, I invite us to just bring into our awareness everyone on this call right now. Imagine strings going out from your heart to everyone else's heart, that heart-to-heart connection. Sending love, receiving love from each other. And then bring into your awareness those who may watch this video later. Again, just sending them love from our hearts and receiving it as well. Bringing into our awareness as well our families, our communities, our countries in the world, and just imagine this weave of love, these red strings going out across the world, to a world so in need of love and compassion. We are weaving this giant energy of love and compassion to all sentient beings across the world. Taking a few breaths to imagine that the world just encased in that love. And then coming back into our own heart space, gratitude for this opportunity. Okay, we can just return and open our eyes. So thank you all. I wanted to just share a bit about a bit of my inspiration and intention behind our time today.
Excuse me, Lori.
Yes.
When you speak, there's a lot of noise that's coming from behind you somewhere.
I know.
And so it's kind of interfering with what you're saying. Just so you know that, yeah.
I know. My neighbors in my office are having a worship service this morning. So they're finishing up. They're usually done at noon, but they're not done yet. And they play great music, let me tell you. So
thank you. Okay, yes.
Yeah, no, I apologized.
No.
They were supposed to be done at noon and they're not. So I will know for the future to not plan this at this time. So anyway, and I've been trying to just adjust my sound here as best I can. So my intention today in our time together was that yesterday happened to be the 31st anniversary of my mother's passing. And she passed at age 65. And I'm just 64. So I'm at the age where she became ill. And she wasn't ill very long. But anyway, it's been on my mind a lot lately, what lessons our ancestors can bring to us, what we can learn from them, as well as what we can leave for those who may come after as well. So that was my intention behind this Cosmic Smashbooking opportunity. And I invite you, if you're new to Cosmic Smashbooking, you don't have to know anything or do anything. This is all about an opportunity to connect with those messages that we have within us, those messages that we can get from our muse, from a divine, whatever language works for us, each of us, as well as just allowing our creativity to help us connect with those. So I did want to share with you this, my other camera here, because I have created a little altar space that I want to share with you here. And I invite you, if this is helpful for you in your home or even in our time today, I have this small space that I have, actually have a picture of my mother, when she was young, obviously. Her favorite flowers, which were lily of the valley. Her favorite perfume, which was Shalimar. I have one of her pins. I have several crystals here, including what's called Ancestralite, which has layers and layers of sediment in it, as well as a few other crystals that are very old and help us connect in with the energies of the earth. And then I would like to just light this candle as a way to just beginning our time together here. Okay. So what I'd like to do today is, and just invite you to lean into this guided visualization meditation that I'd like to share. And also invite you to be very compassionate with whatever may come up. I know for some of us, bringing back some memories of may bring up things. And this is really all about entering a space of curiosity and openness to whatever may arise, and just trusting that whatever healing messages we need to hear will come. Whatever we need to receive, we will receive. And also knowing that in the cosmic smashbooking world, there are no rules. So let's just remember that. This is all about leaving rules behind and no inner critic, and just allowing ourselves to experience that energetic creativity. So I am going to just lead us again in this visualization that gives us an opportunity to visit a bit with whatever ancestors may be calling to us from whatever point in time, and getting any messages and perhaps any gifts that they may have for us as well. So let's all just take a moment, close your eyes, or turn away from the computer screen. And if you have a particular ancestor in mind that you'd like to connect with, that's fine. If not, just be open to who may appear for you. Just take a few deep breaths, connecting with the breath, this infinite moment. And in your mind's eye, I invite you to picture, in whatever way it appears for you, a very large tree, a giant tree, bigger than any tree you have ever seen. This tree is a gateway between worlds. And imagine that you can just easily step through your mind's eye and stand before this tree. You may hear the winds in its branches, may be able to smell the earth where the roots are deeply dug in. And as you reach out, you may be able to also feel the bark. Just use your senses and see what this tree feels like to you. And hold an intention of finding an ancestor spirit to help you in this journey. And search down into the roots of the tree for an opening. And when you find it, just step into this opening, which opens up into this beautiful tunnel, very inviting tunnel. And you see a light at the end of that tunnel, just inviting you in. And as you go through that, you find yourself in a forest clearing. And there's a great fire burning in the middle of this clearing. And you see and sense your ancestors around the fire. Perhaps they're dancing. Perhaps they're simply watching the fire. Just take notice and allow one of your ancestors to come to you. Maybe someone who recently passed, and maybe someone that you don't recognize. And if it's someone you don't recognize, just introduce yourself. And as you stand with this ancestor, you feel a connection. You feel that there is some messages for you. So ask your ancestor for any wisdom, any guidance that they may share with you right now. What do you need to know? Your space in the world right now. What wisdom do they have from their lives to share with you? And perhaps they can share with you what you need to know to do your work in the world, whatever that may be. And ask any questions you may have for this ancestor, whatever it may be that they may want to share with you, whatever questions you may have. And you may also feel that this ancestor actually has a gift for you. Perhaps this gift will help you. Perhaps this gift will also help you remember this conversation. Search within yourself to see if you may have a gift for your ancestor as well. See what exchange you may have with them. And as your time with the ancestor comes to a close, I invite you to thank them for their help and their wisdom. And as you leave this clearing, you enter back through this tunnel, up through to the bottom of the tree. As you stand again at the base of that world tree, hold your hands to the bark and offer thanks to the tree for facilitating your journey. And with that gratefulness, come back into your space, bringing with you whatever messages and gifts you exchanged with your ancestor. So I invite you to just keep in your heart whatever came up for you then. And now we're going to shift into the writing portion. And I am going to change my camera again. I'm actually going to move this off to the side. Okay, take out my book. And if you don't have a book, I invite you to just use a piece of paper, fold it in half. So what I have brought with me today is actually some photos that I'll share that I might incorporate in. I'm not sure yet. But I actually have photos of, and these are hard to see, my grandmother, my great-grandmother on my mother's side. These are all people from my mother's side of the family, which was Irish and French Canadian. And I actually have pictures of my mother as well when she was younger. And these are all photos that I will probably incorporate into my my drawing. But I am going to start grabbing a pen here with just some writing. And what I'm going to start with is initially just a dump of everything that came to me as we were going through that visualization of the messages that I received, and perhaps even an opportunity for me for some forgiveness as well. And I think that there was always an opportunity to not only get to know ourselves better, but to also perhaps be a little more, for me, understanding of what my parents and those generations went through that perhaps I haven't always appreciated. So I'm going to start with that. I'm actually going to play a little bit of music to see if I can perhaps cover some of that talking. Let's see here. So I invite you to just write and make sure you cross the page as well. So we want to really spread the energy out across the page. And I think mine is actually going to be a letter to my mother. I think that's the way this is going to work for me, at least. I have to say, I think probably the one thing that I always have to remember is that at any point in time, we're all just doing the best that we can. It's all we ever can ask of ourselves or others. So that is really the essence of the letter that I'm writing here to my mother. And then after that, when I write my prayer over that, I usually turn the book upside down. And my prayer is going to be a prayer for my mother to always be with me, for her energy and her love, to not only be with me, but with my daughter. And that for me to understand and really appreciate everything that came before me in my mother's side of the family. The pain, the tragedy, but yet the endurance and the love of generation after generation. That if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I was or who I am today. So I am personally surprised this has really become an exercise in forgiveness for me. I think that my daughter was a year old when my mother died, and my mother's death actually set off a series of big changes in my life. I ended up divorced, ended up bankrupt, a lot of things. And I know now, looking back, that it was all precipitated by my mother's passing. And at the time, I may not have been grateful, but looking back on it, as we so often find, the worst times in our lives are what bring us to wherever we may be. So as before I actually start putting any paint on the pages, when my writing is done, I actually like to just sit for a moment and really feel into the energy of what I have put out in words before I cover it. So I am actually going to paint, but I don't have any water. I will be right back. Just want to check in with everybody. Okay. So when I had that tree in my mind's eye, I also have a road. This windy road keeps coming back to me. I guess that's an allegory for life. So I am going to pull out some paints here. Brown, some greens. We'll see what comes. Let's see. Browns, greens, greens, browns. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to share, because I believe there are no coincidences in life, is my sister and my cousin have decided to re-engage in an Ancestry.com experience that they had both started years ago and had put on the back burner. And as a result, we've had some interesting revelations about some questionable members of our family, which I always find fascinating. And you know, I wish in hindsight, because there's really nobody left now of my mother's generation, that perhaps we knew more of these stories than we do now. But then I also realize that we can connect with them at any time, right? They may be gone, but they are always with us because they are a part of who we are. So I'm just gonna Some colors down here for this tree. Okay, now I'm just going to put a little bit of, I think, some blue. And I'm actually going to start to incorporate some of these photos. They're not very good quality, but some of the few photos that we have, that I have. My grandmother, my mother, my great-grandmother. My mother was 1944. How old was she? 16 years old, I think. And I'm going to use a little bit of matte medium to add these to the page here. There are words here that I'm going to add. The words that strength. The short version of my mother's story is that her father, my grandfather, left my grandmother when the day my mother was born. He left the hospital and never came back. So my mother never knew her father and was actually raised by her grandfather, my great grandfather. So it was a lot of complexity in that, and in my journey, and I've really come to understand the impact of that on her and even on me, of not having that lineage and that understanding of where she came from. But yet the great strength that my grandmother had to raise her children, the love of my great grandparents as well, who I do remember when I was very young. And I also think about the fact that in those days, which wasn't that long ago, it's a lot of things we didn't talk about, right? A lot of things that remained hidden and shameful for people. The healing of that shame in future generations is a gift that we can bring forward. We could stop and interrupt some patterns that may have existed in previous generations. And we have that opportunity present day to change what comes after. Sorry about that. I had to go on mute for a minute. But yes, Nancy, thank you for that comment. It is, and we don't know, right? It just reminds us that we never know what other people are going through. We don't know the burdens that anyone else is ever carrying at any point in time, and how we can take that with us in our interactions with others, because we really just never know. And it is interesting. I have to agree with you that it is women, right? It didn't occur to me to follow my father's lineage. It's always my mother. It's my, as women, this is what we do. I know we're down to our last 5 minutes or so, so I do want to be respectful of folks' time. But I am going to continue to work on this. Change my camera here. In the last few minutes, is there anything anyone else would like to share? No pressure. You don't have to.
Down.
Yeah, it's called, gel mat. I always use Mod. I can use Mod Podge too, but I find that Mod Podge, is that it? Mod Podge takes a lot longer to dry.
Okay.
And this is called. It's called gel. Oh my gosh. Can you see it? Gel mat?
Gold gel mat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need much. I usually just use my fingers. And it dries really fast. And I used to use Mod Podge. It would take like a day to dry. So yeah, my daughter luckily went to art school. So all I have to do is like walk into her room and I laugh. I go, can I go shopping at the art store? Because, it's like having a little art store in my house. I'm like, let me borrow this. So, all right. Well, thank you all. I do plan on probably every month or so offering something like this. I do have a 3-week, maybe Nancy, that's the one. I have 2 things coming up. I have a 3-week Cosmic Smashbooking one coming up in May, where I'm actually going to lead folks through creating an entire book. And that's going to be all about life transitioning through points in our life, because I'm getting closer every day to retirement out of a career I've known for over 40 years. So I'm going through it. So I figure I'll allow people to come kind of go through that with me. So that's a 3 series, but then I also plan on offering like once a month, something like this. Every month, probably a little different topic as well, because I love this work. So I also have a monthly, if anyone is also interested, I'm going to start a monthly, just a meditation group as well. So, all right. Thank you all. Perhaps I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. I'm going to blow out my candle here to end our time. But thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very
Enjoy the
much.
rest of your
Bye,
day.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.